Planet Dolan.
From almost being kidnapped to being watched by stalkers, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about scary things we experienced while walking home alone. My name is Nixxiom, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by Foxyfoxxyxx. Doopy and her friend were walking home from school when a guy walked up behind her. She instantly started to walk faster, but the guy continued to follow. Doopy heard her friend scream that he was reaching for her hoodie, so she ran as fast as she could into her house and slammed the door. The next day, the office called her down and said a guy was waiting for her outside. It was the same man, and Doopy and her family moved away right after. But still, to this day, she has seen the man in her new town watching her. Number 9 was submitted by Kuvira, 18. When Melissa walks home from night school, she passes down a block that takes her to her house. But on this night, while Melissa walked, she heard 2 gunshots. At that moment, she was terrified, so she started to speed walk. When she reached the corner, Melissa crashed into a man with a black hood, and since it was night, she couldn't make out his face. But the thing that caught her eye was that the man was holding a gun. At that moment, Melissa thought her life was going to be over. That is, until the man said, "You never saw me," and he ran to the next block. After that, Melissa called the police when she got home, but they never found him. And ever since, she never walked on that block again. Number 8 was submitted by MeowPup420. Once, when Pringle was about 10, he was walking home from basketball practice, and this man in a white truck with cop lights but no sheriff sticker kept trying to get him into his truck. Pringle didn't want him to find out where he lived, so he had to walk around town. Eventually, Pringle did manage to get him off his tail, and he called the police. A week and a half later, Pringle found out that the man was planning on killing his entire family that night. Number 7 was submitted by Misfit2438. When Dolan was 12, he had just seen a movie with his friend who got a ride home, but Dolan only lived about a mile away, so he decided to walk. On the way out of the parking area, he noticed a red truck next to him with the window rolled down. A middle-aged redneck looked down at him, studied him for a moment, and then he drove away. Dolan started to jog until he got to the part of the road where the sidewalk ended. It was only about 2 more miles, so he just decided to jog in the grass. About half a mile later, the red truck came up beside him, and the redneck looked at him, smiled, and said, "You shouldn't be out here, boy. Stuff happens." Then he threw his car door open and jumped at Dolan. Dolan screamed and jumped out of the way just in time, and then sprinted towards his house for the rest of the mile. The man was behind him, honking the horn and calling out, "Boy!" Dolan got home, locked all the doors, and called the police, but they found no evidence of the man. Now Dolan always walks with a weapon in his pocket, such as a pencil or a small hard-covered book. Number 6 was submitted by Casanova26. Pandora was living in Eagle Pass, Texas at the time. She was at a friend's house and decided to walk back home at 2 in the morning. On the way back to her house, she felt that she was being watched, so Pandora turned around. She noticed a man in a clown suit following and watching her 2 blocks away. Pandora started walking faster and noticed that he started walking fast as well. She called the cops, and when they caught him, the next morning Pandora found out by the officer that the guy had raped and had killed several people years back. Number 5 was submitted by Abbscat. Andy Mations was walking home alone because she takes a walk every Sunday. Well, As soon as she left, her husband had said, "Wait, you can't go outside. There's a murderer." But she had closed the door. Halfway through the walk, she heard a man whisper from a few feet behind her, "Knife or axe?" Andy Mations turned around and she saw a man on the other side of the street. He was pretty normal looking until he mouthed the word, "Run." That's when Andy Mations looked at his chest. He had been stabbed. The whole experience didn't seem real. She thought it was a dream. But then she ran home, and her husband kept her inside for the rest of the week. The man responsible for the stabbing was arrested, and Andy Mations doesn't know if the man who was stabbed survived or not. But she does know that she was almost murdered. Number 4 was submitted by SabukonoFaiza. This one time a couple of years ago, when Gooby was walking home from school, she was crossing the street when she saw these dangerous-looking guys doing something in a shady alleyway by a dumpster, staring at her walking by as they hid something in their pockets. Gooby wanted to get away as fast as she could, so she ran to school and was in the middle of the teacher's parking lot when she was nearly run over by a truck. Gooby didn't see who was in it, but she barely escaped and she hid in some bushes on the playground. Afraid of being seen, she didn't want to take any chances of seeing who it was, and she stayed in that bush for what seemed like hours, until she finally got up and checked. There was nobody there, so Gooby ran in and went to her second grade class, where her teacher made her go back and get a tardy slip from the office. In the office, Gooby asked the principal for a slip, and she went off to get it. And that's when she saw the same guy from the alleyway in that room, giving her this killer glare, but smiling when the principal came back with a tardy slip. Not wanting to get involved, Gooby took the ticket and tried to get away, refusing the offer he gave her to walk her to class. When she finally went home, she pressed some buttons on the speaker on the front door to call her apartment. Then she saw the same guy getting out of a red truck, nearing her at the door. She banged and banged on the door, and the office lady quickly came and opened it herself, seeing Gooby and that guy not too far away. He tried lying about being her uncle and taking her to his house with his kids, throwing in jokes and even flirting with the office lady. Gooby pushed past her and ran in, running all the way down to her door. She didn't even want to step outside for weeks. She never told her parents what had happened, but at least they moved to Texas a week later. Number 3 was submitted by CaptainLadybug. A few months ago, Honeybits was walking home from a friend's house at night when she heard moaning behind her. She turned around and some guy from her friend's school had his hands down his pants and was following her. Honeybits was scared, angry, and disgusted, so she whipped out the pocket knife her dad had given her years ago for Christmas that she always carried, faced him, and said, "Get the hell away from me, creep." He got his hand out of his pants, which was covered in jizz, and he backed away until he was far enough away for her to book it home, get inside, and lock all the doors. Honeybits told her dad what had happened, and they considered calling the police, but in the end, they didn't. Number 2 was submitted by CowDeer. Dolan's brother once caught the train at around midnight, and after hanging out with some friends, he got off at his station and started walking home. On his walk, he decided to take a shortcut through a conservation park. While walking through the park, Dolan's brother saw a big light around 50 meters away through all the bushes and the shrubs. It caught his attention, so he walked towards it while hiding in the bushes, making sure that if people were there, they couldn't see him. Dolan's brother got closer to the light and saw around 10 people gathering around a fire in cloaks and quietly chanting something. He watched for a moment, but they were all crouched, just staring into the fire. He was so freaked out, so he decided to backtrack through the bushes and, once Dolan's brother reached the path, he ran away. And number 1 was submitted by me. This is a rather short story, but it was pretty freaky. One night, I was walking home from a friend's house just up the street, and while I was passing this patch of forest that rests in the center of my neighborhood, I heard a noise among the trees. I looked to my right, and there, standing in the forest, trying to conceal himself, was this old man who was watching me. For a time, I stared at him, and he just stared back at me. Both of us a good distance apart. It was pretty weird seeing this old homeless-looking man standing out in the woods, but I just sucked up my fear, and as casually as I could, I made my way home the rest of the way, pretending I saw nothing. And that is it, everybody. A big thanks to all the folks over at our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. But now, we have another question for you. What is a time you almost died? Let us know in the Reddit page linked below, and you might be featured in a future countdown. It seems I have to leave you now, mortals, but don't worry, I shall return.
Flustered because that was basically gibberish. The last time, before him and his friends just sat silently with their food, he said,
"All I want to blame Gays and South America."
Pringle was about to say it one more time, but his friend stopped him and told him to breathe.